What's up everybody, hope you're having a good weekend. In this short video, I want to go over Cleanspark's monthly mining update. And we'll also look at Bitcoin and Cleanspark on the chart and I'll give you my thoughts there. And I'll leave the mining update down below for you in the description. But this dropped here on the 1st of the new month and this is going over February's mining update numbers. And Cleanspark's hash rate grows 60% in a single month now to 16 exahash per second, with over 131,000 Bitcoin miners. Monthly Bitcoin production increased 12% and the treasury increased to 4,218 Bitcoin. And as said by Zach Bradford, the CEO, what a month this has been for us. Our teams have been hard at work and that work is paying off. Even though it was the shortest month of the year, we've dramatically increased our hash rate, growing 60% in the space of a few weeks. And the result of that effort is that we have meaningfully outpaced global hash rate growth and are already seeing those gains in our monthly production. We mined almost 650 Bitcoin this month, referring to February, and added most of it to our treasury, which now sits at almost $260 million denominated in USD. Our fleet has grown even more efficient as we prepare for the halving and the positive impact of the supply shock as Bitcoin works just as it was intended to. And we expect to see additional gains in both hash rate and fleet energy efficiency in March as we rotate in additional new S21s and as our newly acquired facilities become 100% operational. And going over the numbers here, they mined a total of 648 Bitcoin in February, and so far in this new year, they've mined 1,225 Bitcoin. As said earlier, they're holding 4,218 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and they only sold 2.8 Bitcoin this month. I think that's honestly a huge positive. And the miners right now that are solely focused on holding their Bitcoin, I believe are going to benefit the most when the halving comes around, when Bitcoin's price continues to go up. Not to sell that Bitcoin unless absolutely necessary. You'll see that it looks like the month-end fleet efficiency actually came down a little bit. This is good. It's now at 24.68 joules per terahash. As this number goes down, their efficiency goes up. And they made it to that 16 exahash. And do you guys remember when this was the target right around a year ago or so? They had a goal for this 16 exahash by the year 2024. However, there was a delay due to the energy providers. But it is nice to see that they made it, although there was a bit of a delay. And check this out, operational hash rate for the month averaged approximately 13.8 exahash due to several weeks of rapid growth. So the full value of month-end hash rate is still yet to be felt in the March update. February, they weren't at 16 exahash that whole time. They were working on ramping it up as they acquired those Mississippi facilities and the Dalton facility. And we got that news very recently. Those facilities were turnkey, so all they had to do was put their machines in and get to hashing. So it's nice to see that they quickly got those facilities up and running and realized that 16 exahash. But in March, they'll be at that 16 exahash from the start, so it should be an increase overall from February to March. And we have more hash rate coming up in the future here. Here's an update on the Mississippi acquisitions. Crews have finished racking the company's servers and the data centers it recently acquired in Mississippi. All three facilities are nearing full operation with a current hash rate of approximately 1.5 exahash and an expected hash rate of 2.4 exahash once fully operational. And also the recent Dalton acquisition. Construction is advancing on schedule for the acquired property in Dalton. The company has targeted an operational date of April 2024, and the facility is expected to operate at 0.8 exahash. So it seems like the hash rate just keeps increasing. We made it to the 16 target, and now we're well on our way towards 20 exahash. Now I did want to briefly look at Bitcoin on the chart for you guys, and I would personally keep an eye on this pattern. We're seeing this kind of a tightening pattern. We're either going to break out to the upside on it or break to the downside and potentially either test some recent highs or some recent lows, but do keep an eye on this pattern. And while Bitcoin is consolidating here recently, which is good, we are still quite overbought on the daily, and we're also pretty overbought on the weekly. And technical wise, you might expect a potential retracement, let the RSIs cool down. From a fundamental perspective, we're only a little over a month away from the halving, and I do think the hype will continue rolling in. And one thing to realize too is on the monthly, we're barely overbought. We have seen a much more overbought RSI on the monthly every Bitcoin halving cycle. So I wouldn't be really worried about Bitcoin here unless we saw an extremely overbought RSI on the monthly. I think that would be the time to start being cautious. Of course, we could see a short-term pullback for Bitcoin, but you know, Bitcoin still isn't really limited in how much it can run. We could definitely see Bitcoin become much overbought before we see, you know, a sizable retracement. Looking at Cleanspark now from this recent run, I do think it's attractive to add to now. We saw about a 30% pullback before bouncing, and it looks like the market came down to fill this fair value gap. And pretty much right after that, we started bouncing. And there are a couple of levels the market reacted to that I want to mention. First off, we have this 16 area. This turned out to be a support level. It was a previous level of support in the past. It was a previous resistance in the past. Seems like the market bounced right off of it. It also seems like the market reacted to this descending trend line. This was a previous resistance before we broke out of it. You saw a clear reaction on the breakout of this descending resistance, this purple line. And then you'll see that we also came down and bounced off of it as a support. So if we do keep heading lower, keep an eye on this descending trend line. And I do think despite running so much from like the $6-7 area, getting the good earnings and this just breaking out and rallying, despite being around a double from where we were a little over a month ago, I still think looking long-term, Cleanspark's a great ad. Short-term, we could of course come down, test 16 again, but I think these are good ad points. Sure, we can pull back a little more, but what if we don't? What if we just keep rallying into the halving? I do think this is the best miner out there, but the bull run has definitely been kicking off. We're seeing this huge increase in volume we haven't seen since the previous bull run. And I do think things are going to look really great for a lot of the miners, Cleanspark obviously included. And just look at this, in their upcoming earnings, they're expecting nearly $100 million quarter. The quarter we just reported, we had a $73 million quarter. They still have huge revenue growth ahead of them. I think it's an extremely exciting time to be in Cleanspark and Bitcoin and other crypto miners as well, obviously. Let me know what you guys have been researching over the weekend. What miners do you plan on picking up next week? And what do you think of Cleanspark's mining update? It's nice to see them now at that 16 exahash goal, and we should see that hash rate continue to grow. But thanks as always for watching, guys. I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow.